This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
Hello, today I'm here with a step-by-step guide to building your own website. Step 1, need a website. I need a website. All right, yeah, that was easy. Step 2, freak out because you don't know how to build a website. A website? I don't know how to build a website. Well, like coding and stuff? Oh, no, I don't want to do that. No.
Step 3, go to squarespace.com for a free trial of their website builder. Step 4, pick a template. They got tons to choose from. Step 5, tweak it to meet your needs. Customize it, change the layout however you like using the simple, intuitive visual editor. Make some content if you want. Pics, text, embedded tweets, and video. Schedule some content for later. Maybe even dig into Squarespace's wide assortment of powerful extensions.
And when you're ready to launch, step 6, head to squarespace.com/Arlo to get 10% off your first website or domain.
And just like that, you're done. You got a slick, professional-looking website, and you didn't have to hire anyone or write a single line of code.
With the job done, that leads us to the most important step of all. Step 7, sandwich break. I'll see you later.
Because,
hello my friends, how you doing? I did not focus the camera. Hold on. There we go. Hello, my wonderful friends. How are you? So recently we've been hearing quite a lot of news stories about game companies mistreating their employees. They're very popular right now. Activision Blizzard is the kind of most recent, very notable example, but this has been a widespread problem throughout the game industry for, you know, probably like pretty much forever. And for the most part, Nintendo has done a pretty good job of just staying out of it. Just kind of staying out of the whole conversation.
they've developed something of a reputation of being a lot better to their employees than a lot of other companies are. And hey, that's one of the things I really like about them. And like, you know, there are like, throughout the years, there are little reports of like crunch and stuff here and there, but most of them are like pretty old. You know, some people mention that like the final stretch of a Mario game, you know, like Miyamoto is all hands on deck and it's just like the final month or whatever before. It's like a Mario month or a Mario day or week or whatever. And those are very long days. And then like Retro Studios, you know, they crunched a whole ton on Metroid Prime, but you know, that was 20 years ago and they've done a lot of restructuring since then, you know. But more recently, we just don't really get that a lot. The only notable recent Nintendo thing kind of related to crunch is how they delayed Animal Crossing New Horizons because they didn't want to overwork their employees. They didn't want to have to make them rush, so like, that was cool. And then of course, you know, you got the other classic examples of Nintendo like being the good guys. You know, the whole Wii U debacle, and they were losing a lot of money, so the executives took pay cuts so that they wouldn't have to, you know, fire a bunch of employees. They seem to care about their workforce, at least to some degree. And I'll give you the whole spiel I always give in topics like these. I'm sorry if I repeat myself so much, but you know, lots of people like to say that Nintendo is no better than any other company. They're just as evil as the most evil company out there, and I don't think that's true. They make a lot of really, really bad decisions. Really bad, really frustrating, really anti-customer decisions. And they can be very, very greedy in certain circumstances, but no, I do like to believe that at least to a degree they're different. But finally, and a more negative person might say, inevitably, we finally have our story that reveals a little bit more of their nastier side. So Kotaku had a big ol' scoop on it, you know, IGN had a big ol' scoop on it. There's lots of scoops. If you're looking for a scoop, a big heaping scoop in your bowl, you can go find it. I'm not gonna go into like all of the details here. I'm not gonna break down every single claim or anything. But here's the gist of it. Okay, so it seems that full-time Nintendo of America employees are usually quite happy. And you know, we've heard this from people before. It sounds like it is a good place to work. You know, good pay, good benefits, and perks, and just like the environment is just like really nice and positive and all that great stuff. Unfortunately, NOA's contract workers tell a different story. In case you don't know, like a contractor, a contract worker is someone who does a set job for a set amount of time, you know, according to their contract, and that's it. You know, they're not official employees, they're not full-time, and so they don't get benefits and they don't get a lot of perks and stuff. In theory, contractors are supposed to be for jobs with like a definite end, you know? Like building things, for example, or maintenance work, and you want to contract for a certain amount of time. But a lot of big companies tend to exploit contractors by basically making them do full-time work, but with none of the benefits and all that stuff. So, you know, so they don't have to pay as much, basically, and so that the companies also have the ability to simply not renew a contract instead of dealing with firing, which is a lot harder. And this happens a lot in the game industry, you know, because, you know, making games is kind of, you know, you have an end goal there, so that's why people often lose their jobs when the game finishes. And game testers are usually contractors because there's no shortage of people who, quote unquote, want to play games to make money. So they're, you know, pretty replaceable and they're generally not treated very well. And it seems that that's basically what's happening at NOA. You've got your main building with the full-time employees, and then you've got the other site, the other building, where all of the contractors work. And a lot of these people coming out are talking about how they work very, very hard in their what should be full-time jobs. Positions that are always needed, like they're always needed by Nintendo, so there's no reason for them not to have full-time employment, but they're contractors. And the carrot of becoming a full-time employee is always dangled in front of their faces, so they work extra hard, sometimes for years, but then Nintendo just still won't hire them. It's really interesting. We actually get a little inside info about the Wii U situation. The executives took their pay cuts, but it seems that another way the company dealt with the problem was trying very, very hard not to bring on new full-timers. That was just another way to pinch a few more pennies. And apparently, according to some sources, they are still doing this, despite the Switch's crazy runaway success. And despite many full-time employees feeling really overwhelmed because there just aren't enough full-time employees. They don't have enough support because Nintendo doesn't want to hire anybody. This is particularly baffling because Nintendo has otherwise indicated that they want to use this current success to grow the company further. They're investing their money into R&D and buybacks of shares and that kind of stuff. So that's weird, but back to the contractors. So they're working too much and they're not getting what they deserve. But then there's more. They kind of feel like they're being treated as, quote, second-class citizens. Like, they're not really welcome in the main building. There's like this whole thing with like red passers and blue passers. They're not allowed to attend functions, like parties and stuff. Like, basically, there's this big, essentially a class divide between the full-timers and the contractors. Furthermore, whoever is managing these people apparently treats them like drones, you know, getting mad at them for getting stuck in traffic for a few extra minutes, or like stepping away from their desk to go to the bathroom or whatever too many times. Like making sure they work as much as possible for every single minute of the day, and that is not an okay environment to be in for very long, or for like basically any amount of time. That is not fun. So in a recent interview, Reggie was asked about this whole thing that's been coming out recently, and he claims that these reports don't really match his own experiences at the company, and that, like, he says, this isn't the Nintendo that I left 3 years ago. Now, as an ex-executive, it is perfectly possible that he's not telling the truth. I mean, I want to trust Reggie, but I gotta look at all the possibilities. Maybe he's just not telling the truth. But like, it's also possible that this is a middle management issue. You know, maybe the people upstairs, they simply give the quotas or whatever. They say, we need to do this. And then the people in the middle get to crack the whip to make it happen, to squeeze it out of their underlings. It's kind of like a store manager. You know, how like corporate gives the orders and then the store manager is like the worst because they have to meet all those quotas and goals, so they're the ones making everybody work, you know? You know, it's kind of like it's kind of like having a nice principal but a mean teacher. You know, or like I don't know why I come up with so many examples. Or, you know, like you have a nice mom but your mean brother is the one watching you all night. Oh, no. Anyway. Obviously, I don't actually know, you know, I don't know who's responsible, who knows about it, who doesn't, who's all affected, but it sure is disappointing, isn't it?
It is very, very sad to hear that there are a bunch of people employed by Nintendo who are very not happy. They feel that they are being, you know, manipulated and mistreated, and it's not a very good work environment, and that is super duper not okay. And it's doubly frustrating because I want to believe that this is a problem that can be solved, especially now that like all this stuff is kind of coming out. But like, as a lot of these contractors say, one of the biggest problems with the company, one that we already know is a thing, is that Nintendo in Japan make all of the decisions and they're super controlling, but they're also kind of disconnected from like the wants and the desires of the West. And apparently that includes their own employees. A lot of these people say that the language and cultural divide can lead to a lot of really frustrating issues and delays. So it's kind of hard for me to imagine that this is a problem that they know how to fix immediately. I mean, if you're dealing with reasonable people, it's like, okay, well, like, go talk to everybody and say, don't be mean to the employees anymore. But that's not really how it works, especially when you have a lot of very stubborn, very out-of-the-loop executives who probably don't even know what's going on. I would not be surprised if they didn't even know this was making the news. Is that way too negative of a thing to say? I don't know. Point is, though, it's a really crummy situation, and it's really not okay. It's not a good look for Nintendo at all. And it stinks because it is especially hard to fix a problem like this because it is such a widespread problem in so many different companies. You know, like when you get into like the really egregious offenses, you know, like the really super hard overwork and crunch and the abuse and all that stuff, then things kind of come to a head and they get big media attention and all that stuff. But more subtle problems like this tend to get kind of overlooked, you know? I mean, we should all be with the contractors on this. We should all be saying, hey, Nintendo, that's not okay. But even here, even in the comments of this very video, go down there and you will find people saying, it's like this in a lot of different industries. This is a common thing. Lots of people go through this. If you don't like it, get a different job and all that kind of fun stuff. And that's one of the reasons it is so frustrating and it is so hard to deal with, you know? To answer a question you might be asking, no, I'm not gonna be canceling all my Nintendo pre-orders and transitioning this channel fully into a 100% Elden Ring channel. As tempting as that idea is. Ooh. I mean, I'm really not defending Nintendo here whatsoever. I want this to get better, absolutely. I guess I feel it hasn't quite crossed into the same territory that I feel certain other companies have crossed into, you know? Your EAs, your Activisions, you know, like companies run by cartoonishly evil people. You know, like cartoonishly evil people being cartoonishly evil. But as with any Nintendo-related controversy, if there's something to talk about, I will be here talking about it. If there are any other big revelations or breakthroughs or whatever, you will probably hear from me again. Well, at the risk of starting a whole bunch of really super nasty political conversations about wage wars and class divides and capitalism and all that stuff, please go down to the comments and let me know what you think about all this. And in the meantime, I gotta go talk to my editor. Hey, Kane. Yeah, remember how I said I needed that video done by tomorrow? You're almost done. Well, here, look, I really don't need it by tomorrow. Why don't you just, like, take it easy, take your time. No. I absolutely insist. Take your time, take a rest, take a breather, walk away from your desk. No, Kane, I'm telling you, I know you're almost done. No, but you got, just, well, it's not important. I don't want it tomorrow, Kane. I don't care if you're almost done. I don't want the video tomorrow. Walk away from your desk, Kane. Kane, go take an hour-long bathroom break right now!